first time I've used this setup before.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
I usually have like the full mic and everything set up, but my podcasting co-host has the mic, so this is a new method I'm trying.
Give me 1 second.
Oh, you're good. That should be live whenever. Oh yeah, dude.
Perfect.
The debut, bro.
Yeah.
The debut.
Heck yeah. Oh. There we go. Awesome. Exciting, dude.
Oh, dude, yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. My hair got too long too fast.
Yeah, dude.
Too long too fast.
Yeah, we'll get you back to looking sharp as ever.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, this is my main man, Ed Masters, right here. This guy's been my barber for, I don't know, a couple years.
Yeah.
Amazing guy. We figured what we would do is just kind of record our barbershop conversations. A lot of awesome changes going on in 2025. We were actually just talking about that. So we'll just kind of kick it off and kind of move forward from where we left off. But I don't know, man. It's like 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I know you were talking about how you had this feeling of like, I might have to move this mic. That's fine if I have to. How it just like you kind of felt like, am I the only one seeing the truth? You know,
Right? Like, how is it not as clear to everybody else as it is to me?
Right.
That this is like that someone's trying to dupe us so bad. You know what I mean? Or
exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
How can you be so wrapped up in your own agenda that you can't just be a good person anymore? You can't just have good morals at some point because you are essentially living, breathing, trying to get other people to think the same way, and it's all a lie.
Right.
Right. Like how crazy is that?
Well, I think like you'll see it when you go on the Doge website. So it's doge.gov. They just launched it like earlier this week.
Uh-huh.
Dude, it's going to be awesome. So they have like a whole section for, if we need to, do that. If you need to move it, that's fine.
On the case.
Yeah. Yeah, my hair's way too long right now. You have to move it wherever you feel like it'll pick it up. Yeah, that should be fine. So, no, you'll see it. So they have a whole section that's literally just a receipt section.
Oh my
where
gosh.
It's like, not only are we cutting this stuff, here's the receipts of how much it saved. Here's what they were spending money on. So right now it's filled with a bunch of like DEI stuff that they cut out.
Right.
So, but now, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. I just covered a video yesterday. It actually came out today, but the IRS already started cutting thousands of employees within 1 day of them being audited by Doge. And the question that I posed on social media was like, the IRS was the one that cut these agents, right? It wasn't Trump, it wasn't Elon, it wasn't, it was their decision. So the question is if all it took was somebody going in there and looking around and going, what the hell's going on here? How long have they known that they can run with less people and just not said anything?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So, but yeah, no, you'll get a chance to see the receipts of all this stuff. So it's like
amazing.
2025 is the year of transparency, dude, and I'm so excited for it.
And it's like it goes farther than just, it goes farther than just financial. It goes farther than politics. It goes into Hollywood and all of the transparency that's about to happen in Hollywood.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's like this is the year of enlightenment, I should say. Yeah, right? It's like, everything is coming to light, and I could not be more excited. This is such an exciting time to be alive.
Oh, yeah,
honestly.
100%.
It sounds cheesy, but it's true. It's, we are going to see things that have been in the making for 50, 60 years come to a head right now and get blown up. And, these guys that have been sitting fat stacks for just 60 years or so are literally 40 to 60 years, right? Are literally about to just have it all swept out from under them.
Yeah.
and all of us are going to figure out who they were, and you know what I mean, how they did it, and that's amazing.
Well, it's like I heard this a couple months ago, and I didn't realize how true it was until recently. But a good friend of mine said 2025 is the year of transparency. It's like we're in an age right now where technology has moved so fast, and with AI, you can look up information in a second.
You can't hide
So it's
anything
like there
anymore.
is no more hiding anything. Like, so whoever you are, like if you're watching this podcast right now or whatever, if you're at home, like keep in mind everything that you're saying, doing, it's living, breathing, it's people are going to be able to find it.
100%.
So it's like you really got to make sure you're a person of character, because if you're not, like,
well, and you're thinking about your brand at all times.
100%.
Right? Like, you know, your brand today is going to be your brand for the rest of your life, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah, no, they even how much have you heard about what Doge has dug into so far?
Not a ton, I wouldn't say. Like, I didn't like do any like real digging.
Okay.
I just am, you know, kind of getting stuff as it comes, and you know, just hearing like what some of these funds have been going towards other countries for is like mind-boggling.
Oh yeah.
And I had a client the other day try and tell me that, oh, well, they're saying it's for you know, transgender hockey team or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's really like bribe money and hush money that they just don't want. They would rather tell you that it's for some ludicrous thing than tell you that it was to pay off some official to get something done that needed.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, and I don't disagree with that. I think that there is a fair amount of like the other countries having it was like a transgender opera or something like that. I heard about in some countries.
I'm not familiar with that one, no.
Yeah, I don't even know, but
I know they
really
had
crazy
somewhere
things.
like 20 million for Iraqi Sesame Street. That was confirmed.
Yeah,
Like there's just all sorts of stuff. Like they were spending, I think it was $41 million a year for sushi once a week at at the Department of Defense. Like they spent. This is the big one. The big one is they found $10 million being funded from some agency. It wasn't the CFPB. I'd have to look it up, but basically it was going toward Politico. So they were funding Politico. So it's like
yeah,
you're pushing now news media outlets
right,
to
right.
basically, here's money to push what we want you to push. It's like, so it's just, it's so deep what they're uncovering. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it's, yeah, now the latest thing that I'm hearing, I got to do some fact check on it, but they're saying that they found over $1 trillion worth of Medicare and Medicaid benefits that were being sent overseas.
Holy shit!
Like that's, yeah, like it's like,
well, you know, and I heard this guy on, I think, Instagram. No, you know, it was YouTube the other day, and he was saying, I just think it's so funny how, you know, everyone hates on Elon Musk for buying Twitter for $40 billion, and they all say, oh, that could have ended world hunger and all these things. But then you take into consideration that the last administration gave Ukraine 200 billion and lost, don't know where it is, 100 billion of it.
well, yeah.
So you guys recklessly just threw $100 billion out the window, but Elon Musk is the asshole for spending 40.
And that's what I think is interesting is like I post a lot of content on TikTok about this, and how many people are going after Elon is ridiculous to me, because it's like I made a video about the Pentagon. So the Pentagon has failed 7 straight audits. 7.
Wow.
They do them once a year. Okay. 7 straight audits. This last audit, they quote unquote misplaced $840 billion. Misplaced. And so I brought that up because he's about to go in there and basically be like, where the hell did this money go?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, they're already getting audited. And it's like, okay, but as an auditor, you're supposed to find the missing money. That's your job.
Right. It's not just identifying that it's gone.
Yeah, it's like
it's
like,
saying it's gone,
so
and it
where's
went
it
here.
going? Like where exactly? You know, like these are answers we deserve. You know, it's like, and then I think the other interesting argument is, and this one I can kind of understand, but this is more of a indirect impact it has to Americans. There's a lot of people that are saying, you know, how does this auditing help the American public right now. Like our groceries
right.
are high, our eggs are high, like everything's high.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is it helps you indirectly, because if we're not printing $4 trillion unnecessarily, we don't have any inflation.
Right.
We have zero inflation, which means the cost of everything goes down. So it's like, even if they don't come out and say, okay, here's a refund back on your tax dollars, you're going to be taxed less money in the long run. So it's like, yeah, it's just so interesting to watch the whole thing, because the people that voted for Trump are like, yeah, no, this is exactly what we voted for.
Right, this is what I voted for.
And the people that didn't are like, he's just wasting time. What is it? It's like, no. It's like...
No, he's fixing the country. Right. The whole thing, not just like a little piece of it. Like, he's fixing wrongs that have been wrong, have been wrong for almost 100 years.
Exactly.
Like there's things about taxes that should not have ever existed that are coming to light now. No income tax is like, woohoo, like I can't wait to see. It's going to take some time to get it all to be active, but that's okay. It's a step in the right direction, even if it doesn't happen in the next 4 years, but it still happens. Progress.
Exactly. Well, that's another one he's going after right now, is he's sending Elon in to go audit the IRS.
Yeah, that's well, because it's like, we, the taxpayer, pay how much towards things that we vote on, essentially.
Right.
And then come to find out, there's no actual proof that any of that is going towards what we vote for it to go towards. It's going towards debt, essentially. I think you were the one that told me that. You know what I mean? It's like 76% of it.
Yeah, it's like our record now is like 81% of taxes is going to pay our debt right now. This year.
So then we vote as a country to delegate pretty much 100% of that. And we're essentially being left with 24% of it, or even less, 19% of it. And that doesn't cover anything.
Well, and that's the bigger part, right? Is like, so even if we were to cut some of that debt down, and we're only paying, instead of 80%, 70%, that's 10% more you can put toward growing the country and growing the economy. Like, that's what we need in order to get prices down. We need to grow the economy. We need to have things moving forward. Like, we're having a big trade war right now with China, and it's like, that's going, if we don't, they're innovating fast. Like, their AI is moving fast.
Because they're a little more reckless than we are.
Exactly.
In that way.
Well, so their government structure is a little bit different. So the government can basically say, we're going to dedicate all of the money to this, and then people don't say anything about it. They can't, Whereas, like, here, we're like, no, we don't want it to go to that. We want it to go to this, and like, But it's in the other part, to kind of piggyback off what you're talking about. I don't know if you know this or not, but the IRS actually had to do their own audit. They got sued. And so, they got sued. And I see it actually pretty decently often just here in Arizona. People are getting refund checks from as far back as I've seen, from like 2007.
Oh my gosh.
And these were refunds that they were supposed to get back in 2007 that they never got.
Right.
So basically, it took an audit of the IRS to happen for people to get the money that they were due to begin with.
Right.
And now here's the interesting part. Sometimes they're paid interest on that, and sometimes they're not. They're supposed to be paid interest on what they weren't paid back by the government. Or by the IRS, rather.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like...
almost 20 years of interest.
Right. So what's the impact of that now that we're looking into these agencies and going, dude, how come it takes you getting sued in order for you to get the numbers right? Like, what is this? You know what I mean?
Or to even just give people what they deserve.
Exactly.
What they're owed in the first place.
Exactly. So, no, there's a lot of... Dude, you'll eat up that website, dude.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like on a daily basis, he's putting new stuff in there. And, I mean, I'm just excited for it. Now they're talking about... they released the JFK files.
Yes.
They're going to be releasing the Epstein files.
Yes, those are the two biggest ones I want. Because honestly, I think that we haven't seen the JFK files because they implicate the Clinton family, and they also implicate the Bush family. And I think that on top of that, the Epstein files also implicate the Clinton family. And so you got these people that are behind the scenes of all these government things still, and Chelsea Clinton with her whole thing that they came out with the other day, the meals for Haiti.
Yeah.
And then they did the math, and it was, if she spent everything that she said she spent on food, then each meal daily was costing like $1,400. Like, yeah, that's what you're claiming.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then they, I seen something else, and I don't know how true it is, but it said that they found out that 3.5 million of the like 84 million she was allotted for that project went towards her wedding.
Oh wow!
And 10 million of it went for her to buy a new house.
Yeah.
So essentially 13 million of the 84 just literally went to her living a better life, essentially.
Oh yeah.
Or a life she doesn't deserve.
Well, I mean, if we look at this on a smaller scale, right? Like, the example I always like to give people is, if you look at California right now, California is a good example of how taxpayers' money actually gets funneled. So, like, it was 2 or 3 years ago, they put a record amount toward ending homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And now the homeless problem that they have is greater than ever before.
Yeah.
And there was a guy, you can go check it out on YouTube, his name's Tyler Oliveira, and he just basically creates documentaries. So he went to these homeless encampments in California, and he's like, you guys were supposed to get all this money, what happened?
Right.
And what he found out and what he dug up is that the lobbyists are the one that petition for the money. Right. And the lobbyists funnel the money basically to for-profit organizations first. So the money gets basically slushed around in these for-profits. Then the ones that actually are making a difference, not-for-profits, they get that last little bit that's left. So of the billions and billions of dollars that get spent on homelessness, maybe a couple $100 million actually goes toward the problem. Right. The rest of it, just kind of gets wherever it ends up between these for-profits, Right. So it's like, where you think your tax dollars are going, they're not going.
Right. And then it gets to a dangerous thing. Like, what are we voting on? Why are we voting at that point? Why, right. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything.
Right.
And that's a slippery slope for government to assume that role of like, yeah, your votes don't mean shit. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the reason why you're seeing so much pushback right now. You know, there's like, Maxine Waters made this like ridiculous claim before Congress. They're talking about Elon Musk and how they're afraid that he has access. The American public should be scared that him and his team of teenagers, because he's got some younger people in there for Doge, have access to treasury files, which means that they have access to your banking information. And I just laugh and I'm like, bro, we just had a CrowdStrike breach literally 6 months ago, where every single American's data was leaked. Every single one of them. Like, who the hell cares?
Right.
At this point, it's not like it's like, oh, it's private. Like, no, dude, that stuff's out there already.
He has so much money. Please tell me the motivation behind him stealing from all the American people.
I think that's one of the stupidest arguments I've seen. It's like, I can't trust Elon to do it because he's not going to do it fairly. It's like, okay, first and foremost, there was a news report that came out yesterday that he's literally sleeping at the White House on the floor. Like, he has it all where he's working so much that he doesn't even go home. Yeah. On top of that, if you look at the stock price of Tesla, Tesla has been on a downward for a long time. Like, he's bleeding money right now. Yeah. And it's just like, the guy clearly has no interest in money. If he did, he'd be like, hey, my business needs a lot of attention right now. I need to step away. But instead he's like, no, I have a commitment to the American people right now.
How long has he been saying, I'm just here to like better the American, or like the human race?
Well, this is where I kind of look at these audits, and it really brings to light how much control whoever is behind the curtains has had, because they've been funding not only our school systems, but our media and all of this stuff. So they basically have conditioned people to think in such a way that there's no way somebody with $1 billion could ever care about me. There's no way. Right. Because money is the root of all evil. And it's like, from a psychological standpoint, if you think money's the root of all evil, you're going to be broke forever.
Right.
Period.
100%.
Like you have to have a good relationship with money.
100%.
So they're already killing you by saying like, nope, money's the root of all evil. If somebody has money, then they got it, from evil ways. And, and it's like, dude, no. It's like I got into finance and I am where I am right now because I've been blessed enough to get around people that are wealthy, and they've
100%.
taught me everything I know.
Right.
And it's like, no, there's good people out there that actually want to see
everybody
things you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I just look at this machine that they've created, and I got to give it to them, dude. It's a fantastic machine. Mm-hmm. Like, holy crap, do they have people's minds just totally...
Right. They figured out mind control in the 60s and ran with it.
Oh, dude, we're talking about, MK Ultra.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, MK Ultra, man. Yeah, it's like... But it just, all this stuff just goes to confirm it. It's, you have all of these truths coming out. Mm-hmm. You have all these receipts coming out. It's like, they're literally posting all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, for you to see and go do your own research on. And people are just like, nope, how do we know that it's true? It's like, what?
Then fact check it.
Well, not only that, but it's like, dude, if we keep doing the same thing we've always done, we're going to get the same result we've always got.
Right.
Like, at this point, just trust the process and see what happens. You know what I mean? Like, I know it's scary. You
trusted the process the last 4 years, and look where that got us.
I know.
You know what I mean? So it's like, let's trust the opposite of what those people have been trying to do for the last 4 years, and I'm sure we'll end up in a good place.
Well, it's again, but that a lot of that comes down to what they've done for mind control, because for the past, we're going on almost 10 years, it's been Trump's an evil guy. He doesn't have your best interest in mind. And so it's like,
it's hard for me to understand that, because like, if I know nothing about politics, if I know nothing about Donald Trump, and if I know nothing about the past 4 years, or even, further back, right? I can look at what he's doing and go, man, this guy's really trying to like get rid of all the evil in the world.
Yeah.
Period. Like,
right.
He doesn't have anyone's back. No one has his back. Well, I guess more people have his back now, but he didn't go into this with everybody's back. He went into this just by himself. And now I feel like he's spit so much truth. He's done so much good, and it's you can't not see the good in it, right?
Right.
Like, what is his motivation but behind trying to clean up our diets? Like, it's not from bad, right? It's not. I refuse to accept that it's a bad thing that they're trying to clean up our food systems.
Right.
It's like,
well, and again, what that really comes down to is, if you focus on a problem long enough, you're going to freak out, right? It's like, so if they continue to put up on the news that he's bad, he did this, he did that, even if it's, not true, they're going to put it out there, because he's basically tearing down the fabrics of what they've built since hundreds of years. I mean, right now he's talking about the Department of Education, totally getting rid of the Department of Education. And you have all these people on the left that are like, this is a horrible idea. He wants to make all of our kids stupid. And it's like...
No, he wants us to not be taught all this propaganda that they're trying to pump into us right now about becoming transgender, and that's the way to be. And
well, so this is what I was telling people on social media, is it's like, go look into the history of our education system. So our education system was actually founded back in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it was founded and funded by some of the wealthiest people, Henry Ford, John D. Rockefeller. And what they believed is, we don't want competition in business. We do not. So if we can create an education system where we create workers rather than people that are free thinkers, we have this thing figured out. And so our education system has been broken for hundreds of years, funded by the very same people that Democrats hate.
Right.
The very same people, but you have to go back in history to figure this out. So it's like...
Well, people forget a lot about history.
Well, that's what they want, though, right? They want people to not, like,
I was reminded of this the other day, and I knew this from a long time ago, but had completely forgotten about it. Okay. What kind of engines were in all the Nazi tanks?
Weren't they water? Hydrogen? Were they electric?
They were Ford.
Really?
Ford motors.
No kidding.
They were sent over from here by Henry Ford because he hated Jewish people. I'm not even kidding.
No
That was his
way.
motivation behind funding the Nazi tanks, essentially.
See, I always hated Ford because he created the 5-day work week. That's the
I
only
mean,
reason
there's
why
that too,
he created that.
right?
He's like, yeah. So it's
but
like
literally, if you go back and look at all those Nazi
way.
tanks, there's a Ford V8 or a Ford 12 valve or whatever the heck's in there, right?
kidding.
But it's a
Wow.
Ford block.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. And I believe it was the Rockefellers that sent them all their gas.
Yeah.
To fuel those tanks.
Well, so and that leads to the next thing, right? Is like, so we were the war in Ukraine and Russia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like there was a whistleblower that came out that worked for BlackRock. Mm-hmm. And he didn't even really come out. He was exposed. Mm-hmm. But Project Veritas met with him. He was a recruiter. Mm-hmm. And he was talking, they were asking him about the war in the Ukraine, and do you like it? Like, you know, do you like this is happening right now, you know, for the safety and security of people? And he's like, I don't pay attention to that as much as I pay attention to how much money we're making from it. And the person that's like interviewing from Project Veritas basically goes, well, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, think about this. He goes, the Ukraine is one of the biggest exporters of grain in the world right now. Mm-hmm. So if we short grain at BlackRock, if we know that, hey, the war is coming right now, let's short grain. We just made all of our profits for our clients right now. Wow. The bottom line is we have to profit. That's it. We don't care about the war. We don't care about none of that stuff matters to us.
Right.
So when the war happens, we, number one, already know what to bet on and what to gamble on. That's our job. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. So if the war drags on, that's better for us because we know, and it makes sense to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. From a very basic standpoint, all of this is money driven anyways.
Right.
It's like, how can we benefit and prosper off of this? So it's like Ford, obviously, you know, with World War II was like, okay, well, I just need to make more money for my business. So let me send engines to Germany.
Let me just give you some irony, right? So the draft happens and all these guys have to go overseas and fight, and all the women are left here to work. And if you don't believe that they were working in the Ford factory, you're crazy. So our men were shipped overseas, and then our women were forced to make motors for the enemy tanks. Think about that. It's like, wait a second, what?
Yeah. Well, see, I knew I didn't like Henry Ford, but now you gave me another reason to not like him. That is why I will not buy a Ford vehicle. I cannot support that.
Yeah, man.
But it's just like, I mean, that's even still, that drags on to what's happening today. You know, if there's money to be made, money will be made. And that's just the way. And unfortunately, it's like, I know that we've been brought up in this society of like money's sort of all evil, but it's not. I think what we're seeing is there are good people with money, and if you're watching this podcast, you may not believe this, you may believe it. That's completely up to you. I'm not trying to sway what you believe or not, but there are people that are trying to actively change the world for the better that have a lot of money right now. 100%. And I think that's why we're seeing so much resistance, why we're seeing so much pushback, and why we're seeing, you know, Donald Trump's this evil Nazi, and
the
you know,
people that shout the loudest are the ones that have the most to lose.
Oh yeah. Well, it's always. So another thing too that Doge is going into, dude, you're gonna have like a whole homework assignment.
Yeah, for
real. Elon said he wants to look at people that work as federal workers, whether it be politicians or just federal workers in general, and how they've gone from their average salaries to tens of millions of dollars. He's looking into that. Like, how is it that you guys' salary is $175 million or $175,000, but you're worth $20 million?
Right.
The numbers don't make sense.
Right.
How are you getting this money? Exactly. Like, what exactly is it?
Right.
So it's little things like this that I think we as people have known for a while, but it's just kind of been like, well, that's just the way it is.
Or
you know,
like, there's no way to prove it, or what am I supposed to do about it, even though I know the truth?
Right. And now you have these two billionaires that
are like, hey, let's prove this.
And here's the other thing is it's like, what do they have to gain from doing what they're doing?
Right. They could be sitting on a beach somewhere and have forgotten about all of
and their business just gaining crazy amounts, doing the exact same thing that Pelosi's doing the exact same thing as Soros and Larry Fink and all these guys. Like, just, you know, oh, we know that there's a war happening in Ukraine. Cool, let me go, you know, short grain real quick. Like, they could be doing that.
Well, this is the first time that the people at the top can't be bought.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed.
They can't be bought because they don't need to be bought. They have their own money. And so there's no amount of money you can wave at Donald Trump or Elon Musk right now and say, please don't come out with all this stuff and ruin this good thing that we have going for us,
Right.
which is really a bad thing for the American people. And they're like, absolutely not. I have nothing to lose by just running off and doing whatever I want to do.
Exactly.
I have everything to gain from staying here and fixing it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I just felt like going into 2025, the energy was just different.
Totally.
Like it had nothing to do with the presidency at all. It was just like I almost felt like this big weight from the past 4 years was just gone, dude. Like it was just like
it was like, and I think what it was is it did have to do with the presidency, but it was more like we were talking about in the very beginning of this, like we thought we were kind of like, am I alone right now?
Yeah,
am I the only one who can see? And then that last month of the year, we all realized that we all felt the same way, and we all saw it, even though we weren't willing to admit it in some social circles, right?
Right. Well, it was just like to watch what happened during the election. Like, dude, that was an ass whooping.
That was
like that was the people like being like, okay, no, we're like, this is what are we doing here?
Yeah, you're gonna hear us shout from the rooftops at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The other thing too is, like I said, go look up. Her name is Cindy Lee, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
But she worked for the Harris campaign.
Okay.
And the stuff coming out about Harris is like, bro, she is not a good person, bro.
No.
Like So my mom does taxes for the Teamsters. Okay, she's in Illinois and she's been doing taxes for the Teamsters forever.
Mm-hmm.
And what she would always tell me growing up is, the Teamsters always vote Democrat. They always do. It's because the Democrats tend to be the one that help with the funding and kind of help the Teamsters grow and do that stuff. So it's kind of like this unwritten thing where it's like, if you're a Teamster, you're voting Democrat, period.
Right.
And this was one of the first elections where the president of the Teamsters came out and said, we're not voting for her.
Right.
And what it came out later to be, this was after the election cycle was over and Trump had already won.
Mm-hmm.
He basically came out and said that when Kamala met with, all the Teamsters president and, all of them, she walked in the room and basically said, this is how it's going to be. This is not a discussion. If you want my funding, this is like no respect at all.
Right.
And he basically stood up and was like, you have to understand that, like, in this, what he told her, you have to understand that we have always worked side by side with the Democrats. Right. We will not be pushed around. We will not allow you to come in here and act like you're in charge of us. We're going to continue to do exactly as we've always done. Right. And she said, then you can forget about the funding. And he's like, okay. And he's like, from that point on, we're like, no, we're definitely voting for Trump.
Yeah.
So it's like, to see, and that's just one story. That's one example. Like the stuff that came out about her and how she was treating people is just insane. Like just in the financial side of things, I was looking into the numbers for the campaign for Kamala versus Trump. So Trump brought in something like $330 million for his campaign, and Kamala brought in $1 billion, which is a record for campaign funding, the most ever. And and that was the result.
Wow.
But she spent all of the money on the campaign and still owed her team, like her marketing team, $20 million that she didn't have.
Oh my god.
That she did not have until this day. They have not gotten paid.
Whoa.
So it's like you wanted somebody in charge of the country who just raised $1 billion that in 3 months spent it all. And then didn't have it? Like, what?
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah, how are you supposed to... And this has always been my biggest point about Trump. How like, if we just trust him as a businessman, which he always is going to be first, right?
Right.
He's always been a businessman first. And we just trust him to treat our country like one of his many businesses. We can't fail, essentially.
Well, and that's the thing that I wish a lot of people would see is like, dude, America's a business. I don't care what way you look at it. Dude, we're a business.
You can't look at it any other way.
At the end of the day, it's like the example I give a lot of people is everybody likes Chipotle.
Right.
You like Chipotle?
Yeah, but it's McDonald's.
Well, okay, so now it's McDonald's.
Yeah.
But the reason why it's McDonald's is because private equity. It's this, you have these small businesses that ultimately want to grow. They want to get bigger. They want to have, chains. They want to be a household name. But in order to do that, you have to raise funds. And a lot of times what happens is, Ed, you have the shop here, right? Let's say you want to scale. Okay.
Right.
Well, now you need funding to scale. So you have an angel investor that comes in and says, yeah, Ed, I'll help you scale. I'll give you money to do it, but I want 5-10% of the business, right?
Right.
So then you're able to scale up to a certain point, and then it's like, okay, now I need to scale again.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, okay, well, you need to go public. And in order for you to go public, you have to raise this much money. And now private equity comes in, the BlackRocks come in, the Vanguards come in, and they basically say, yeah, Ed, we'll help you out with that. But we want to get 50%, 51% of your business, and you can get 49%. We're going to have controlling stake. Right. Which means that, yeah, you'll have shares in the company, but we're going to make all the decisions.
Right.
And so it's like, as a small business owner, you have to decide, like, am I going to be bought out at this point and get a paycheck and take care of my family but not have control? Right. Or am I going to cap my growth, And so that's what happened with Chipotle, is Chipotle goes, okay, well, we need to go public, and now we're traded on the stock market. Well, now the only objective of the hedge funds is to make people money. That's it. So now you get a cut in, we're going to try to increase our profits as much as we can. So we're going to get lesser quality meat, and we're going to pay our people less. And it's like, that's exactly what we're seeing with Chipotle. You have people complaining, well, it's not the same as it used to be. Of course it's not.
Right.
Because that's how America's built. If you want to create something awesome, private equity is going to be a part of it, So it's like, it's just how America is built, you know?
Unfortunately, right?
Exactly.
So much groundwork has been laid for it to be the way that it is.
Exactly.
It's going to take a little bit of time to get it to not be that way anymore.
Well, I think this is where it's important to understand the financial aspect of it, because if we really started putting financial education at the forefront of people's education, now you don't have to borrow money from hedge funds. Now you don't have to borrow money from big institutions. You're so financially responsible, and you know all the tools and resources out there for you that you can continue to grow that small business. You can continue to make sure that it still has your brand on it, your name on it. Right. You're not going to be bought out, and the quality's not going to, go down.
Right.
But a lot of that comes down to funding, and so there's a big revamp that needs to happen. And yeah, it starts with education. Yeah, it starts with putting more money in the consumer's pocket, and it's like, it's going to be scary what's going on. And I think that's why there's so much resistance toward it right now, is basically Trump and Elon are going in there and saying, this whole structure sucks.
Right.
We're cutting everything.
Right.
And people are like, what do you mean? My protections are gone. And it's like, what protections, bro?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? There's no protections.
If
you were protected, you'd be thriving right now.
Right. 100%.
So it's like, but the unknown is scary, right? So it's like the idea of, our education system is going to change. What's going to happen with my kids? Yeah, that's scary. Well, as a small business owner, and I think you can attest to this too, things are going to get scary for a while.
You don't know if you're going to be scary for a while.
Exactly. It's like, as a business owner, I don't know if I'm going to have a business tomorrow. I have no fucking clue.
Right.
But all I know is I have to have faith, and something can be said about religion in this, and, it doesn't matter if you're religious or spiritual or whatever, but the Bible says you have to have faith in the best possible outcome.
Yeah.
It's like, faith is the evidence of things not yet seen.
Right.
So it's like, have faith in what's going to happen. Do I know what's going to happen with Doge? No. Do I know what's going to happen with the Department of Education? No. Do I know what's going to happen with us exposing this? No.
Right.
But I have to have faith in understanding I don't know what I don't know, and there's something greater that's coming out of this. Well, there has to be.
And it goes back to the definition of insanity, actually, right? It's been broken for so long, and we know that as a whole, right? As a country, we know that everything is flawed, right?
Right.
And we've been just willing in the past to just like, all right, well, it's broken. Let's keep trying it this way.
Or just part of the wheel. Yeah.
Eventually, maybe it'll come around. And that's, I feel like that piece of the end of last year where we started to feel like there's hope again.
Yeah.
It's just right around the corner. These people want to clean all this up. Everything that we know has been wrong for so long, they're actually going to put a spotlight on it and fix it.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too is like how powerful, I don't know if you've been watching the tariffs, But they made this big joke out of tariffs. Donald Trump, he doesn't know what he's doing with the tariffs and all of this stuff. Dude, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's a businessman.
Exactly.
Dude, we put tariffs on Mexico. Mexico buckled 8 hours later.
Yeah.
We put tariffs on Canada, and before the tariffs were even happening, Canada's like, we're going to shut your power off. Well, our lights were shining bright for the 72 hours that Canada decided they wanted to get those tariffs put on them.
Right.
And now they back down to them. They're like, okay, let's talk now. And it's like,
right.
I get that what he's doing and what the entire, team he assembled is doing is scary. It's the unknown. It's the very fabric of what America has built
100%.
is kind of being shaken. And the foundation is like, it seems like, oh, everything's crumbling, but it's like, dude, no. It's like,
the bad stuff's crumbling.
Yeah, exactly. The falsehoods, the things that haven't been working,
should have never been there in the first place, are crumbling.
Right, exactly.
And for somebody, that's scary, because for somebody, that's how they feed their family. And I get that part of it too.
Yeah.
Right. But you're not gonna feed your family on my family's shortcomings, right?
Right.
On the stuff that is making life hard for the rest of us is not how you're going to feed your family.
Right.
That's not happening.
Right. And what I would suggest, and if you're listening to this podcast, since they're all about transparency, just watch what's going to happen over the next 4 years. If they're seriously about transparency, then what they're doing, if it's evil, them being Trump and Elon and all that, we'll have receipts of all of it. So just sit back, relax, watch the show per se, and see if what they have promised comes to light. It's like
we don't have
they have just as big of stuff to lose as anybody else.
We literally have nothing else to lose at this point.
Exactly.
It's all gone.
Exactly. Right? So it's
what are you worried about losing at this point? We're in shambles.
Right. So it's like, if you're questioning this whole thing, I understand. There's nothing to be afraid of. 2025 is the year of transparency, and it's like, you get to track all of this stuff in real time. You know what I mean? So it's...
Well, and the proof is, whether these people want to admit it or not, well, he's doing bad things, blah, blah, blah. How about you just let him do it? And if it really is bad, we will throw rocks at him for the rest of his life.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's not, holy crap, we just got ourselves out of the worst position we've ever been in.
It's like you said, nothing to lose at this point. For decades, we've just been feeling like, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now it's like, the people have spoken. I mean, that was an absolute, it was like the Super Bowl this year. An absolute ass whooping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
America spoke and said, we need change right now. So
100%.
Allow things to play out as they will over the next 4 years. Keep tabs of it, but don't be afraid of it.
Right.
Just allow it.
I guarantee, and don't fight it either, and try and prevent it from happening like we did in his last presidency, right? In Donald Trump's last presidency, he was fought at every turn along the way, and he was not able to accomplish anything that he set out to, because everybody just proceeded to just purposefully get in his way.
Exactly.
Right? Okay,
they're already trying to do that.
Let's see what the guy can do without any roadblocks.
Right.
Let's see what he can do when he legitimately just comes in and wants to do what he was there to do.
Well, they're already trying it. That's why I look at this whole thing like a theater with we need to subpoena Musk and he shouldn't have access to this stuff. And it's like, bro, shut up. You're a career politician. Shut up.
Right, exactly.
You're afraid that we're about to find out all of your insider trading secrets. It's fine. We've known about it.
And you're like, honeypot is gone. You know what I mean? You being able to get all this money for all this time is over. You've been doing it for nothing. You've been stealing from the American people for no reason.
Well, and
besides just your own benefit.
And that's the other part that I think about too, is it's like, people have been upset about, career politicians and how they're, they can't relate to us, and, we work 9 to 5s and they don't ever have to do that. It's like, well, guess what? If we expose them, they will.
Mm-hmm.
Their kids will, So it's like, this is our chance to really push back and go, no, dude.
Yeah, we're not taking it anymore.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no.
And
it's been fun to watch. We're only a month in.
To be honest, I know, right? It feels like we're a year.
I know,
how much stuff has happened. But when we got pregnant with I have 3 sons, and when we got pregnant with the last one, I cried a little bit, out of sadness.
Yeah.
Obviously, some out of joy too, right? Um, but I cried out of sadness because I'm like, this was 2021 that we had our last son, right?
Oh yeah, that was like
And
pandemic.
it was pandemic, and
Yeah.
it was, the height of the Biden administration just shitting the bed. I feel like, and I was like, what kind of world am I bringing these kids into? Right? Like,
that's sad.
Yeah, like the world I knew, the world I grew up in is gone.
Right.
Completely, and it's never coming back. No matter how good Trump does, there's certain things that are gone forever.
Yeah.
Right. And part of that is the simplicity of like kids being able to just be kids and run around and play and not have to worry about being taken in some way.
Exactly.
Or you know what I mean? Like, I was talking to my mom the other day. I had a GoPed when I was 13, 14. I had a GoPed. I would be gone, and this was before cell phones, or like I didn't have one.
Yeah,
right? I would leave the house at like, so let's say summer vacation. I leave the house on my GoPed 8 in the morning.
Yeah,
I would not come home until like 6, 7 at night when the street lights are coming on. I would just be gone all day.
Yeah.
And not doing anything bad.
And that's what your parents would tell you.
I would just go,
be home before the streetlights are on.
Right. I would bounce back and forth between friends' houses and go all over the place and have the coolest, most independent little fun time ever, right? Which showed me how to be independent and showed me my limits and, all these things that are beneficial to me developing as an adult.
Right.
And my kids I will tell you right now, I don't know if I will ever feel comfortable with one of my kids just taking off without me knowing where they're ever again. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen anymore.
And
right?
That's a scary thought. Yeah.
Yeah. If I didn't know where one of my kids were for 1 hour, I would lose my mind. I would expect the worst, right? And my mom would go 12 hours without wondering anything.
And she was just chilling.
Just chill. I'd come home and she's, hey, how was your day? Like I just came in for work or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, and that was normal. I remember that. Yeah. Growing up in Chicago, we would do the same thing. It was like you're playing baseball in the street, or you're playing kick the can, or whatever, dude. Wiffle ball, all sorts of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, all right, you're going to be outside. You can, and it was like almost a rule where it was like, get out of the house,
right?
Go be a kid, come back before the streetlights are on.
And video game consoles are new. And like your parents would, hey, no more than like an hour or two on your video games before
you
cool
with it.
You're like, you're right. I don't want to waste the whole day.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's beautiful outside. Let me go ride my bike.
Totally.
Yeah, let's see what my friends are doing
right now. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and and that's totally right. It's like I look at kids these days, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, mind you, I don't have kids, but
sure.
I look at the Department of Education thing, and I'm like, bro, like our kids are hooked to electronics anyways. It's like half the stuff you see in the contracts.
Do you remember? And maybe you don't, because again, you don't have children. But before 2020, do you remember what the biggest threat to children was?
Before 2020.
Before 2020, do you remember what like the number one thing that they were so worried about for kids?
What's that?
Too much screen time.
Oh yeah.
And
that's still a big problem.
then 1 year later in the pandemic, we're online schooling all of our kids through tablets.
Well, so this is an important lesson for investing. Right. Is I've made a lot of my money investing based on the fear that the media puts out. So like when they first started talking about Tesla and how evil Tesla is and how they're creating electric vehicles and it's going to be the death of the car and all this stuff, I was like, whoa, hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
You're pushing people to not buy this thing that's really awesome, right?
Right.
And then the other thing, and this is a fairly recent one, this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and you might have remembered it, you might not, but they started talking about AI and how scary AI is. And do you guys remember Terminator and how the machines? Yeah. I'm like, bro, computers walking around doing the dishes, like that's the greatest thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Straight up.
But it's like that's what the media does is they have
turn it into it's going to kill you.
Well, and so that's it's a very unconventional style. I made a YouTube video of this, but like that's literally how I invest. Is I'm like, if the media is talking negatively about it, it's probably going to be huge for investing, and it's paid off every single time.
Wow.
Because here's the thought process. If we can make the masses afraid of it, we can have all the rich people invest into it.
Right.
Now, by the time it's mainstream, the people are like, "Oh, I want to buy it." Well, the rich people already have most of it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So it's
yeah.
Because it's all controlled.
Scare you away from it, so you don't buy it. Exactly. So they buy it first, and then it blows up because they bought it essentially.
It's the same thing with cryptocurrency.
Right.
I mean, Bitcoin's dangerous, and it's like, okay, well, if you invested in Bitcoin 8 years ago, it was what, like $150 a coin?
Yeah.
Now it's what, $100,000 a coin? Can you imagine dropping a whole paycheck on it 10 years ago?
No,
bro, you're living.
But if you had, I mean, yes, you're
living in the Hamptons next to Denzel, dude.
In a completely different life at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But it's they want to make you afraid. Is exactly what it is.
Scare you out of making good decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been interesting working for banking, man, because I just look at the stuff and I'm like, why are we scaring people?
Right. Like, why are we doing
this? What are we doing right now?
And like, do we really think that it's not going to benefit us if everybody succeeds?
Well, that's the thing, though. That comes down to the education system. It's like the people at the top don't want competition because they're afraid of losing their money, right?
Right.
So they have opposite fears of people like us. Their fears is I don't have power, I don't have money, I don't have control. Our fears are I'm powerless, I can't take care of my family. Every day, like no matter if you have money or you don't have money, everybody has problems.
Right.
That's money doesn't solve that.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right.
It's just when you have problems, Biggie said it the best. When you have problems, more money, more problems. Because you have more things to worry about.
Right.
I'm going to lose my money. People are going to take advantage of me. Things like that.
Right.
And so people that have a lot of money also live in a lot of fear too.
Right.
So when you take money out of the equation, you start to realize the only thing that's important is how you live your life. Like, live it to the fullest. Enjoy doing what you want to do completely, independent of I need to make this much money or I need to do this. Does money help? Right. Yes, it helps.
Sure.
But it definitely doesn't make or break your life. Like, you can have the best time you've ever had. You can travel the world for free. You can, there's all sorts of different things. Mm-hmm. But you have to prioritize your happiness first.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah. This goes into a whole nother topic kind of, but, I was an addict for a long time. And when I got sober, the key to my success was me finding out what I would call what made me tick, right?
Absolutely.
I needed to figure out what made me happy. And then I needed to do that every single day of my life.
100%.
Right? I needed to add it into my daily routine of this thing that makes me so happy, because otherwise, what am I doing? Right? Like, why are we living through unhappiness for literal no reason?
Exactly.
Right? Like, there's no explanation for it. You just think like, oh, I can't do these things that actually make me happy because then I don't even know what the excuse is there, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, it only hurts you.
Right. Exactly. No, I agree. Just saying, it's like I was talking to my sister, and I was an addict too back 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago, something like that. Now I don't touch drugs, alcohol at all, nothing.
I'm with you.
And I was talking to my sister, and she's like, "You are still an addict." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You're addicted to your business." You know what I mean? So it's like, in your case, like, you're addicted to that thing that makes you tick, like that fun, passionate thing.
Right.
That's still an addiction, but it's a healthy addiction.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like you're very much still addicted.
It's just us addicts, right? Yes. We don't ever lose that.
Correct.
And but for that matter, everybody that is not an addict still has that in them. It's just not active.
Right.
They haven't done whatever it is that would drive their addiction yet.
Exactly.
And so
when you find your passion, you'll find it, though.
Right. You will, when you really find what makes you tick, what makes you happy, all those things. Addiction is part of that as well.
And that's what we're talking about is completely independent of money, right? Money comes as a byproduct of the fact that you're following your passion.
Totally.
So, all right. Let's get that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get that mic. All right, man.
Let me get your shirt there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're good.
Throwing stuff.
It's all good. That thing's hardcore, made to
It
last.
is. It is.
All right.
Yeah, man. Let's
First podcast episode
I
wrapped
was just
up.
gonna say,
Yeah.
let's do this every
What do you want to call it?
haircut.
Barbershop talk?
Yeah, perfect. Actually,
Cool. We'll
Perfect.
come back at you guys.